Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Elder Council podcast. Is it 4 or 5? It's one of those. This week's episode of the podcast is going to be talking about, yet again, some more Unearthed Arcana subclasses, another little quick glance at the monster manual, and maybe some ranting and rambling in between there. This is the podcast where we talk about D&D news and DMing in general, running the game, anything about the game, and occasionally I would also like to add in some benefit topics to new players, things that are beneficial to new players that are trying to learn how to play the game or just learn how to spice up the game that they're playing, maybe playing with friends that are also new and their whole friend group is just running some textbook adventures and they want to kind of make things a little bit more exciting. So I would like to get into that as well on the podcast, but for this week, Wizards has just been absolutely spoiling us, and this another episode of the podcast. I think every episode so far, if not 75% of them, have had new subclasses to go over. So this is not going to be the podcast every time. It's not just going to be an Unearthed Arcana review podcast, but every time they put out new stuff, I would like to go over it just because this is some of the stuff I like a lot. It's, brand new content, playtest stuff that's, untested, unproven, and never seen before. So it's just ripe for the imagination and possibilities to add into your game. So let's check it out. It looks like there's 3: a new Cleric, new Druid, and a new Wizard subclass. So if you are unaware, these are playtest materials. Unearthed Arcana is the stuff that Wizards puts out to test new things that they're thinking of putting in official releases later. So if you are interested in any of these, the best thing you can do is play it in one of your games, and then in a couple weeks they will release a survey to get some responses about it, and if it went well, they will fine-tune these options and put them into a official book later. So let's jump into it. Looks like first up is the Cleric, and I did a little bit of a look at these earlier when I saw that they got posted, but I haven't really checked them out too in depth, so I'm excited to look at these with you guys. The Twilight Domain of the Cleric. The Twilight Domain governs the transition and blending of light into darkness. It's a time of rest and comfort, but also the threshold between safety and the unknown. Deities of healing or respite, bravery or protection, travel or transition, or the night and dreams might grant their clerics the Twilight Domain. And the actual paperwork here, if you're not watching this on recorded video, the paperwork actually has a list of some of the deities in case you aren't super familiar with the D&D lore. They give you some that you can pick from, which is pretty cool. Clerics who serve these deities tend to be brave, delving into the dark to hold its dangers at bay and to bring comfort to those lost far from the light. Kind of a cool feeling to this subclass so far. Twilight Domain Cleric, not really your holy avenger type of a guy, but also not the edgy death cleric, something in between, and maybe more of a neutral good type of a character, which I think is cool. So the domain spells for the Twilight Domain, these are the spells that the cleric gets to add to their spell list. Fairy Fire and Sleep, Darkness, Invisibility, Aura of Vitality, and Tiny Hut, very nice. Aura of Life, Greater Invisibility, Circle of Power, and Dream, very powerful. So you can see, Fairy Fire, Sleep, Invisibility, Greater Invisibility, Tiny Hut, kind of just a bunch of stuff that adds to the maybe ethereal flavor and feeling of the class and gives you a little bit more flexibility, I suppose. Kind of helps to be like more of a buff debuff type caster rather than just a healer. But something that's very cool, first level bonus proficiencies, you gain proficiency with martial weapons and heavy armor. Fantastic. I love me a frontline tank cleric, especially one that is not totally expected to also heal all the time. I really love the Forge Domain Cleric, just getting to be the a dwarf with a battle mace and just go in and smash stuff. Super cool. another level 1 feature, the Eyes of the Night, and this is one of the most memeable features I've seen so far. This everyone knows the joke in 5e that everyone has dark vision now, and this kind of just cranks that up into overdrive. It says, your eyes are blessed, allowing you to see through the deepest gloom. You have dark vision with no maximum range, and as an action, you can magically gift this benefit to any number of creatures you can see within 10 feet of you, and it lasts for 10 minutes. And you can do this equal to a number of times equal to your wisdom mod per long rest. So pretty much first level Twilight Domain Cleric, your entire party will always have super duper dark vision with no maximum range. I think Wizards of the Coast is just officially trying to say, like, we just don't want to have to deal with people not being able to see in the dark. It's just silly. So everyone already pretty much has dark vision, but now everyone really has dark vision, which is, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And it makes sense thematically for the Twilight domain. So I do think that this subclass is pretty powerful. First level feature, again, Vigilant Blessing. As an action, you give one creature advantage on the next initiative roll the creature makes. This benefit ends immediately after the roll, or if you use this feature again. So this is insane, I think. At first level, just one person in your party, which probably is going to be either your best spellcaster or your best, like, barbarian type of a character, just immediately has advantage on initiative forever, like every battle. There's nothing in this text about how many times you can use this per long rest or anything like that. So I imagine it's just, once per encounter, you can just give someone advantage on their next initiative roll. So that seems kind of insane. This is something that our party's barbarian in the Elder Council campaign on Wednesday nights, Chad Supreme, the Dragonborn barbarian, level 7, he just got this as a berserker barbarian, I think. Yeah, 7th level, he got advantage on initiative rolls. And this is just, this first level cleric just always gets this. It seems kind of crazy, but I like it. I like them making things more powerful. So the channel divinity options for this cleric are also very cool. You can use your channel divinity to, as an action, present your holy symbol and a sphere of twilight emanates from you. The sphere is a 30-foot radius and filled with dim light and moves with you, lasts for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated or die. Whenever a creature, including you, ends its turn in the sphere, you can grant it the following benefits. One of the following benefits. So, you use your channel divinity, hold up the holy symbol, and this sphere of, twilight emanates from you. 30-foot sphere centered on you. And then anytime at the end of a character's or a creature's turn, you can give it 1d8 temporary hit points, or you can end one negative effect on it, causing it to be charmed or frightened. So if your entire party just centers around you, every one of them is going to get 1d8 temporary HP at the end of their turn, including you. And this is a channel divinity. You get this at 2nd level. So this is really, really good for, if you are a 2nd level and you anticipate this battle to be a big boss fight, you just pop this and your entire team just essentially, for every round you get, they have an extra 8 max HP, which is very good at 2nd level because people are very squishy. But I think this is powerful at higher levels as well because of the other effect, getting to get rid of charm and frighten. I think that's a little bit more helpful than temp HP as you get higher level. So, very powerful class. It's pretty simple, not a lot of stuff to it. It's just really, really good abilities, and I think it's going to be fun, and obviously it's very flavorful, the whole Twilight thing. 6th level, Steps of the Brave. You draw strength from your connection to Twilight and find yourself at home within its dark embrace. You gain 2 benefits. You now have advantage on saving throws against being frightened, just permanently. And if you are in dim light or darkness, You can use a bonus action to magically give yourself a flying speed equal to your walking speed until the end of your next turn. What? I must have missed this when I was reading through this. I'm like, what? That's crazy. Okay, so starting at 6th level. What? Wow. Okay, so I'm just getting my brain around this. So there's no like limit to the amount of times you can do this, and this is kind of when you realize that this is playtest material. Although maybe they will not change this. I think it seems powerful, but maybe not game breakingly powerful, and they're fine with it. But in combat, obviously, it's like as a bonus action, you can gain a flying speed for 1 turn equal to your walking speed. So in combat, you can fly 30 feet instead of walking 30 feet, which, yeah, it is powerful in combat, but it's not going to, make you better at killing the boss unless you're doing something super creative. But out of combat, you can just use a bonus action to just fly all the time as long as you're in dim light or darkness, right? So at nighttime, you can just always fly. That seems pretty good. This is a really powerful ability and is really good for role playing. I guess if your character is some type of vampire or something, being able to fly around at nighttime, starting at only 6th level. There's a lot of campaigns that start at 6th level, 5th and 6th level. So being able to be a spy or something and just fly around at night, that seems very insane to me, and I like it a lot. 8th level, Divine Strike. You can infuse your weapon with divine energy. Whenever you hit something with an attack, you can cause it to deal an extra 1d8 psychic damage. Increases to 2d8 at level 14. Pretty standard stuff. Midnight Shroud, 17th level. You can harness the shrouding power of night to protect your allies and stymie your foes. Whenever you cast the darkness spell using a spell slot, you can choose a number of creatures you can see, including yourself, equal to your Wiz mod, and those chosen creatures can see through the darkness. That is incredibly powerful, and I like that a lot for a capstone ability because it's not something you would expect, but once you think about it and once you start using it in your games, which I know is very unlikely, 17th level, like who's ever actually played a 17th level game, but once you think about the ways you can use this and start using it in practice in your game, you can have so many things to do with that. Casting darkness on a battlefield and just choosing your entire party to be able to see through it is incredible, because your party's automatically going to get advantage on anything that can't see them in the darkness, but they can hit just like normal. So that's automatically pretty much just gives your party advantage all the time whenever you cast darkness. Very good, very good. I like it a lot. Okay, so that's the Twilight Cleric. I think overall, like I said, pretty interesting, pretty simple, but very thematic and flavorful class. I think it's very strong, and I'm interested in this, and if they choose to change it or release it in full later on, I'm going to be excited to see what they have to say about it. Let's move on to the next one, the Druid Circle, which I think this is the one that most people are going to be the most excited about. This is a big deal. They have needed a, purely fire-based druid for a long time now, and I've been thinking about brewing one up, like some type of volcano or lava-themed druid, and I think the way that they decided to go with this is really nice, and I'm really, really happy with it, and I think that it kind of shores up that requirement for the fire druid that we've all wanted for so long. So this is the Circle of Wildfire druid. Druids who are members of the Circle of Wildfire understand the necessity of destruction, such as how a forest fire promotes growth. Wonderful flavor already. It's perfect. These druids bond with a primal spirit that harbors destructive tendencies, allowing the druids to use their power to create controlled flames that help flora and fauna reproduce and grow. Very cool. Very cool. So, 2nd level, you get your circle spells. You've formed a mystical bond with the wildfire spirit, a primal being of creation and destruction. You can, at 2nd level, you automatically gain Firebolt as a cantrip, and you get a certain number of spells here. You get Locate Animals and Plants, Scorching Ray, Fireball, Plant Growth, Aura of Life, Fire Shield, Flame Strike, and Raise Dead, obviously, at the respective levels that those spells all come at. But as a 5th level druid, this is a really awesome option to take, and you get Fireball. Druids already have pretty much very close resemblance to the wizard spellcasting list, and adding Fireball to that is a very, very powerful thing to do. Super good spell. Of course, everyone knows it's Fireball. But getting a free Fireball cantrip's not bad either. So here's the big deal. This is the main attraction to the subclass: Summon Wildfire. And this is one of my favorite things that they're doing with druids nowadays, like the Circle of Spores druid, the Summon Wildfire feature. You can summon the primal spirit bound to your soul, the fire spirit. As an action, you can expend 1 use of your wild shape to summon your wildfire spirit rather than assuming a beast form. The spirit appears within 30 feet of you. Each creature within 10 feet of the spirit, when it appears, must succeed on a dex save or take 2d10 fire damage. So this just automatically, whenever you summon this wildfire spirit, the area that it gets summoned into is like a little mini fireball. And the damage is actually not bad. 2d10 fire damage at level 2 in an AoE. That's like essentially as good as getting Fireball for, your level 2 battles. Not bad at all. And after the Fireball goes off, you have this summon now. And druids are already incredible summoners, so this is really, really cool. The Wildfire Spirit is friendly to you and your companions and obeys your commands. It has a little stat block here, which we'll go over. In combat, it shares your turn. It takes its turn immediately after you, and it just automatically takes the dodge action. But you can take a bonus action on your turn, and you can command it to use any action that it has in its stat block, or you can make it take the dash, disengage, help, or hide action. And it lasts for 1 hour, or until it dies, or until you use your wild shape again. So, the Wildfire Spirit stat block. AC of 13, and its HP is equal to its Con mod plus your Wisdom mod plus 5 times your Druid level. So, you get this at level 2, so it's automatically 10 HP plus your Wisdom modifier, which as a Druid, is going to be anywhere between plus 3 and plus 5. So, let's say it starts out at 13 plus its Con mod, which at level 2 is going to be plus 2. So this thing has 15 HP at level 2, which is going to be pretty close to what a PC is going to have. So you're kind of getting another player character every time you summon this thing. It's very good. Plus 4 to all its saving throws and its nature skill. It's immune to fire damage. It's immune to being charmed, frightened, grappled, prone, or restrained, which is very powerful. Even just being immune to fire damage, you can already think of some really cool things to use for this thing, sending it through fire to get to certain areas and do things for you. Soul Bond, it's just like any summon. The following numbers increase by 1 whenever your proficiency bonus increases by 1. The spirit's skill and saving throw bonuses, the bonuses to hit and damage of its Flame Seed ability, which we'll get to in a second, and the bonus damage of Fiery Teleportation. So, the actions that this thing has, which you can use a bonus action on any of your turns to make this thing do its regular action. So, Flame Seed is plus 4 to hit 30 feet range. One target you can see takes 1d6 plus 2 fire damage. Just a basic ranged fire attack, which is not bad. And then once per short or long rest, it can use Fiery Teleportation. The spirit and each willing creature of your choice within 5 feet of it, so anything in the squares directly surrounding the fire spirit, teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space, and each creature within 10 feet of the space that left the spirit must make a dex save or take 1d6 plus 2 fire damage. So, as soon as you summon this fire spirit, it fireballs the area that it gets summoned into, and then you can use a bonus action to make it teleport out and fireball the same area. So you can summon this thing at 2nd level and double mini fireball an area full of enemies, and I think that automatically makes this druid an incredibly powerful spellcaster that you should really consider adding to your party. 6th level, Enhanced Bond. The bond with your wildfire spirit enhances your destruction and restorative spells whenever you cast a spell that deals fire damage or restores. Thank you for the host. I really appreciate that. If you are checking this out after the fact on YouTube or anything, come by on Thursday nights. We record the podcast live, and you can check it out on the stream and be a part of the chat. Thank you so much. Whenever you cast a spell that deals fire damage or restores HP while your wildfire spirit is summoned, roll a d8 and you gain a bonus to the roll equal to the number rolled. So if you cast a Firebolt, your new cantrip that you get with this class, you can roll a d8 and get a bonus to that. Or if you cast a healing spell, you get a d8 bonus to that if your wildfire spirit is summoned. In addition, when you cast a spell with a range other than self, the spell can originate from you or your wildfire spirit, which this is amazing. If your spirit is, 50 feet away from you and you cast a spell with a 50-foot range, that essentially doubles the range of that spell, and you can cast it from your spirit and do extra damage if it was a fire spell. So I don't know. Maybe this is all just, basic damage stuff, but it seems like this druid is incredibly powerful. It's really, really strong for just, a pyromancer that can also heal and have a summon. It's really good. 10th level, Flames of Life. You gain the ability to turn death into flames of vitality. When a small or larger creature that you can see dies within 30 feet of you, or your spirit, you can use your reaction to cause primal flames to spring from the body. When a creature you can see touches these flames, the creature regains hit points or takes fire damage, your choice, equal to 2d10 plus your wisdom modifier. The flames vanish after a creature has touched them or after 1 minute. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom mod, and it comes back after a long rest. This is a little situational, but it's interesting, I guess. Something that the first thing I think of that makes me think you could exploit this in a positive way, when a small or larger creature you can see dies within 30 feet of you, maybe if you found an area where your party could, farm little small animals or something, which this is maybe something in roleplay wise a druid would probably not do, but you could just kill a small creature and activate this and then heal somebody for a 2d10 plus your wisdom mod, which at 10th level is probably going to be +5, so 2d10 plus 5. That's a pretty substantial heal. I guess in the middle of a battle you would mostly be using this on enemies that you kill, so I don't know why an enemy that you kill or would, like, one of their allies would go up and touch the flames coming out of their comrade's dead body. seems pretty rare and situational, but I think you could probably find a use for it. It is powerful. It's either damage or a heal, so powerful variable situational spells can be pretty useful sometimes. But it's probably the least exciting ability that they have, but everything else is very good so far, so that's okay. 14th level, Blazing Endurance, and this is the capstone ability for this subclass. The bond with your wildfire spirit is exceptionally strong now. Even fatal blows only fuel your defiance. If you drop to 0 HP and don't die outright, you drop to 1 HP instead and gain temporary HP equal to 5 times your druid level, which at level 14 is going to be a minimum of 70 temporary HP. And each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you takes fire damage equal to 2d10 plus your druid level. Each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you. Yeah, that's right. So if you would die, instead you go to 1 and then you get 70 temporary HP, and then you fire off a fireball equal to 2d10 plus 14 centered on you that damages only creatures of your choice. That's incredible. So I guess with that ability, you kind of just... and you can use it once per long rest. I should definitely say that. This makes me want to say, like, if you're going to go into a battle with a bunch of enemies, you can just, charge yourself right into the middle of them, summon your fire spirit, fireball, and do all your big AoEs. And then if you get taken out, you just go back to 70 temp HP, and then you launch off another fireball from this Blazing Endurance ability. This seems like the premier, fire-based AoE class in the game now. It's incredible. Like everything they do is based on AoE with launching off mini fireballs. Plus, you get the actual fireball spell. It's really, really good. I love it. I'm definitely going to be trying to see if I can play this class sometime in the future. That's it for the Circle of Wildfire Druid. I'm interested in that. Very cool. I love these new classes. I don't know if the new classes that they've been releasing lately are supposed to be all one theme. It seemed like the Sorcerer and Warlock subclasses, they kind of both were, Tentacle and Cthulhu and Kraken based. All of these, the Cleric and Druid and this next one, the Wizard subclass, they all seem kind of just based on general magic feel, not any particular theme. But it's interesting. I'm not sure if they're just making so much new content because they're working on something, or if they just are making a new book that's just going to be, a book of subclasses. I guess we'll see. So the last and pretty exciting subclass that we're going to talk about today is an arcane tradition for the wizard, second level. It's Onomancy, O-N-O-Mancy, and some of you are going to know what this is, and some of you are going to say, what the hell is Onomancy? This is something that is very, very steeped in tradition of fantasy and magic, and that kind of thing. And you're going to know what I'm talking about once I explain it, but I'm super excited that they made this subclass, and I know a lot of people are going to be very, very happy about it. So it is described as: practitioners of magic well know the power of names, but wizards who follow the tradition of onomancy use their magic to manipulate the words that encompass existence. Onomancers expand their study into language itself, searching for threads of magical significance that weave through names. Something that is named stands out in the multiverse, distinct from the tapestry of creation all around it. So if you can't tell already, one of the classic themes in, wizard lore and D&D history and magical history and fantasy and stuff like that is this idea that if you know a wizard's true name, then you hold some type of power over them, or if you know a villain's true name, then you can defeat them more easily. And that is the whole kind of design idea behind this arcane tradition, that these wizards they study language itself to gain these magical secrets and powers over creatures once they learn their true name. And I think that's a really interesting and flavorful thing. It's definitely not something that's going to work in every campaign, but I think if you have a really classic fantasy, if you're making a Merlin type of a character, or a world where you're lots of crazy wizards and powerful warlocks and spell slingers and stuff like that around your world, I could easily see this being a really cool character to build. So there's a description of what, where this true name idea came from and what that means, but you can look into that if that's something you're interested in. It's, like I said, a very, very old tradition and stylistic choice in a lot of fantasy, that knowing someone's true name gives you power over them. So second level, you gain proficiency in, you learn one language of your choice, and you gain proficiency with Calligrapher's Tools as a wizard studying language. That makes a lot of sense. Also at second level, yes, like Alucard and Dracula. Yeah, absolutely. So at second level, this is kind of the ability that makes this whole class work, and it's really nice design and cool that they thought of this. This really makes this whole thing possible. Second level, Extract Name. You can magically compel a creature to divulge its true name. As a bonus action, you target one creature you can see within 60 feet of you. The target must make a whiz save against your spell save DC. On a successful save, you discern that this magic failed, and you can't use this feature on the target again. On a failed save, the target is charmed by you until the end of your next turn, and you mentally learn the charmed target's name or the fact that the target lacks a name. You can use this a number of times equal to your int mod per long rest. So as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, that's kind of lame. What if you use this against some super powerful wizard that is purposely trying to hide their true name from you? But it makes sense flavorfully. They have to make a whiz save. So obviously a super crazy powerful wizard would destroy you in a battle of wits if you're a second level Onomancer, and you're just getting into this craft. So I like that it's a whiz save. You can't just automatically, learn someone's true name. You have to figure it out and do this battle of wits with them if they're trying to hide it from you. But if you succeed, then you learn their true name, and you can use the magical power of the universe that grants this magic power to knowing someone's true name. So second level, Fateful Naming. You can bend magic to assist or hinder creatures through the power of their true name, and even use those names as an anchor to affect others around them. You automatically learn Bane and Bliss as wizard spells for you, and you add them to your spell book. You always have them prepared, and they don't count against the number of spells you can prepare. Very, very good. This, just as a wizard, learning Bane and Bless are super powerful. You get a nice debuff and buff to use. You can cast either spell without spending a spell slot if you speak the true name of one target of the spell as part of casting it. So you can do this a number of times equal to your int mod. So you can just cast Bless 3 to 5 times per long rest for free, as long as the person that you are targeting, their true name, which is very cool. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We're going over these new Unearthed Arcana subclasses. At 6th level, Resonant Utterance. You learn words of power called Resonance, which allow you to tailor your spells through the use of a target's true name. So the easiest way to understand this is kind of like, if you know someone's true name as a wizard at level 6, you gain these abilities that are kind of like meta magic for the sorcerer. You get some resonance that are kind of buffs for your spells. If you know someone's true name and you target them with a spell, you can add a little extra spice onto that spell targeting them. So when you cast a wizard spell with a spell slot and speak the true name of one creature targeted by the spell, speaking the name as part of casting the spell, you can use a resonant a number of times equal to half your wizard level rounded down, and you gain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. I think as soon as you learn this, you get to learn 2 of them, and then every time you level up, you can replace one if you want to. So there's a list that you can choose from, and you can pick 2 to start with. So here's the options. Absorption. When you cast a spell that deals damage to the target, you gain 3d6 temp HP. So if you cast a lightning bolt, and then you use the absorption resonant, then you gain 3d6 temp HP if you know that target's true name. Devastation. If the spell requires the named creature to make a saving throw, that creature has disadvantage on the first save. So if you cast Fireball and name the true name of your enemy, then they have disadvantage on the first save it makes against that Fireball. Very powerful. Dissolution. The first time the named creature takes damage from the spell, they take an extra 2d8 force damage, and the damage increases when you level up. So that one, you could cast Magic Missile targeting somebody, name them with their true name, and hit them with an extra 2d8 force damage, plus Magic Missile can't miss, so they just take so much damage just from you having that power over them by knowing their true identity. Very powerful. Nullification. If the named target is affected by any other spells, and you know what those spells are, and you can attempt to end one of them by succeeding on an intelligence check with a DC equal to 10 plus the level of the chosen spell. So if someone is charmed, you can make an int check, and if you pass, you can end that charm on them by knowing their true name. It's pretty cool. Puppetry. The first time the named creature takes damage from a spell, you can knock them prone, or move them up to 10 feet, either directly toward you or away from you. Wow. So this is like 3 different warlock Eldritch Blast invocations mixed into one invocation for a wizard, which wizards tends to do that a lot. They really give the wizard subclasses like all of the juice, but I like that. I think this is really cool. This is probably my favorite wizard subclass already, just reading through this. Sympathy, the last, what are these called? Resonance. If the named creature is within range of the spell, and you can target the creature with the spell, even if you can't see the creature. So if you know somebody's true name and you know that they're behind a wall, you can hit them with a spell even if the creature is behind cover and you can't see them. That's very powerful. You know, lightning bolt somebody through a door just because you know their true name, and you can empower the spell with that. That's very good. 10th level, you learn 2 more resonance of your choice, so they're really leaning on the resonant feature, which is good. And 14th level, Relentless Naming. You have learned how to bypass a named creature's defenses against certain types of damage. When you cast a spell that deals damage to a creature whose true name you speak as part of casting the spell, you can cause the spell to deal force or psychic damage to the creature instead of the spell's normal damage type. That's very powerful. So let's just tie this into the monster that we're going to speak about today very quickly. We're going to go into a quick glance at the monster manual and talk about the Treant, which is the creature that we used in last night's campaign for a sweet little mini boss battle. Let's say you're going up against a Treant and you happen to know its name. You know that its name is Treebeard. Let's just take Lord of the Rings for an example. So maybe you don't have any good fire spells, but you have this Relentless Naming ability. You can make your magic missile do, force or psychic damage. Oh, never mind. You can't change the damage type. I guess maybe, let's say, not a Treant, something that is resistant to fire damage. Resistant to fire damage, not takes more damage from fire. So a fire elemental, and all you have left is fireball, and you can fireball it and then make make the fireball do force or psychic damage instead of fire. So that's pretty good. If you have a spell that something is resistant to the damage of, you can change it to force damage, which very, very few things are resistant to force damage. That makes a lot of sense. That's pretty powerful. So you can see that this class is really focused on that whole like flavor in the old fantasy sense of, having power over someone with their true name. And it's not particularly something that I'm interested in flavor wise, but I think it could be really cool. And given the right campaign, I think you could make a really cool like ancient wizard character, like a Merlin type of a guy that really focuses on being like that old school type of a wizard. I think that's pretty cool. So let's skip over to the monster manual and wrap this up. We're just going to do a quick talk about the Treant today. Thank you guys for joining the podcast. If you're watching this live, if you're listening to it after the fact, check it out live on twitch.tv/the Elder Council. Oh, nope, just /Elder Council. Sorry. So the Treant is what we're going to talk about today, just really quickly. And if you've joined the podcast before, I'm not going to give you the history of the Treant and their design and everything about it. I just like to quickly speak about how I've used them before and how I would add them into a game if I was going to use them in your campaign or whatever. But we just used the Treant last night in the Elder Council campaign. I thought it went pretty okay. We're in the middle of an adventure right now where the land is kind of slowly being corrupted and everything's getting turned undead. So it was like a zombie Treant, and it still had the ability to animate other trees to help fight against its enemies. And Treants are usually chaotic good, and I think the most interesting thing about them as creatures, they don't have a ton of abilities. They can smash you, they can throw a rock at you, and they can animate a tree once per day. So that's about it. They have decent armor, decent HP, and they do a pretty good amount of damage. They can do a lot of damage. But I think the most interesting thing about Treants is their alignment. If you're going to use one as an enemy in your campaign, you have to have a good reason, because they are chaotic good. It's easy to, just say like, oh, you guys were endangering the forest and the Treants attack. But they're ancient, like super smart beings. They know if someone's just passing through in a happy, nice way, or if they mean to harm the forest. I don't think it's a particularly good idea to just like, you're wandering along the forest and a Treant like attacks you because it thinks you're a bad guy. They're smarter than that. Like even the classic Treant, which it was an Ent in Lord of the Rings, Treebeard, like we just mentioned, When he grabs up the hobbits as they pass through the forest on their way to Isengard, not that they know that they're heading to Isengard, he grabs them and thinks that they're little orcs, and he wants to attack them because he thinks that they're orcs, and he knows that the orcs have been like hurting the forest and deforesting it and burning it down. But even when he thinks that they're little orcs, he grabs them and talks to them and listens to them first. So just having a rogue treant that just automatically like attacks is maybe not a good idea. So you think about why it would attack, and if it is going to be an enemy, maybe your characters are not the good guys in every situation, and maybe that's the whole point of you using a treant, is to give them that idea like, wait, why did this thing hurt us? Why were we hurting the forest? Like, were we doing something wrong? So in my campaign last night, I kind of flipped that upside down. This treant was zombified, but it still was protecting its forest, and it was crashing in the distance, and the players heard it coming, but they didn't know what it was, and they actually got attacked by like a giant poisonous zombie spider that was corrupting and poisoning the forest. And then when the crashing in the distance finally showed itself, it was through this giant rock being hurled and smashing the spider and smearing its guts along the forest floor. And then the treant killed the spider that was poisoning its forest, but then it saw people casting spells and throwing magic around and attacking, so it decided to just finish off them as well while it was there. So think of some interesting ways to use treants. I think they're pretty cool. They are a CR 9 creature with about 140 HP, 16 armor. Their stats aren't particularly amazing. They're obviously strength and con are going to be their best stats. Hit them with dex spells. Fireball obviously is amazing. They are vulnerable to fire, so with 140 HP at CR 9, they're actually like pretty easy to take down. So you shouldn't use this as like a big boss, right? Like if your party is anywhere between 5th and 7th level, I would say, they're going to take down a treant within a couple of rounds. So I would use it as part of a bigger group of enemies, maybe a couple treants, and then they both animate another tree each. And then, they have them fight the group, because they're still easy to take down. If they're grouped up, they're vulnerable to fire. Somebody's going to fire off a fireball, and it's going to do 70 damage to these things, and then they're halfway dead anyways. So use them in just a quick little mini boss battle to question their morals more than anything, not to actually harm them would be my suggestion. But if you wanted to scale it up and make it into a big boss battle, double the HP and maybe make it do a little bit less damage, because it's going to take them longer to kill, and they do quite a bit of damage. If you we used our level 6 party, I sent 2 treants against them, and they killed them pretty quickly, but 6th level characters still only have around 50 HP, and this thing can hit you with a rock and do 28 bludgeoning damage. So be careful. If it crits, it could do 8d10 bludgeoning damage, and that could easily kill a character. So you do have to be careful as always, but trust in your party and trust that they usually will come out on top. It's almost impossible to kill a D&D party if you are not being absolutely brutal. Send 5 treants at a level 6 party, maybe it's a different story, but 1 or 2, I think they'll be able to take it down, have a cool little story, and maybe the next time they sit around the campfire at night in a forest, they will think oh, should we really be here and disturbing this place or not? So that is going to do it for today's episode of the Elder Council podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment. Let me know what monsters you'd like to see in the future, and what was your favorite of those new Unearthed Arcana subclasses that we checked out today. That's going to be it. We will be back next week with more D&D and more podcast action.